Under the pale light of the full moon, the quiet village of Ravenwood sat in uneasy silence. Near the edge of the village flowed a dark, slow-moving river. Beside it stood an old, twisted tree that everyone avoided. The villagers whispered stories of a strange humming sound that came from the tree on quiet nights. Some believed it was the wind, but others were certain it was something more sinister. One evening, young Emma, a curious girl with a brave heart, decided to find out the truth. Armed with just a lantern, she walked through the forest towards the haunted river. As she got closer, a soft hum filled the air, sending chills down her spine. Her hands trembled as she held the lantern tighter, but her curiosity pushed her forward. When Emma reached the tree, she noticed something unusual. A faint green glow surrounded its trunk, as if the tree itself was alive. The humming sound grew louder, almost like a song calling her closer. She hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. She had heard tales of people disappearing near the tree, never to return. As she stood frozen in fear, the glow suddenly dimmed, and the hum stopped. For a moment, everything was silent. Then she heard soft whispers, as though someone was speaking just behind her. Emma spun around, but there was no one there. Her lantern flickered, and she realized she might be in greater danger than she had imagined. The next morning, Emma shared her experience with the village elder, an old man who rarely spoke. His eyes widened when he heard about the glowing tree. "That is no ordinary tree," he said in a shaky voice. "It is cursed by the river spirit. Angry for the wrongs done many years ago, he explained that a long time ago, a traveler had cut the tree, causing the spirit to wake. Since then, the humming had never stopped." Emma felt both fear and determination. She wanted to uncover the truth. "How can I help?" she asked. The elder shook his head. "Do not go back there," he warned. But Emma's mind was already made up. She couldn't ignore the mystery that haunted her dreams. That evening, Emma returned to the tree. This time she noticed something she hadn't before: roots that seemed to form steps leading into the ground. Taking a deep breath, she stepped onto the first root, and the humming returned, louder than ever. The green glow illuminated the path as if guiding her. She followed the roots into a hidden cave beneath the tree. Inside, the air was cold, and the walls sparkled like they were covered in tiny stars. In the center of the cave, there was a pool of water that shimmered unnaturally. The humming seemed to come from the pool itself. As Emma stepped closer, she felt a presence, as though she wasn't alone. Standing by the pool, Emma saw her reflection, but it wasn't quite hers. The face in the water had glowing eyes and lips that moved without sound. Suddenly, the humming stopped, and a deep, echoing voice filled the cave. "You have disturbed my rest," it said. Emma froze, unable to move or speak. The spirit revealed that it was the guardian of the river, awakened long ago by human greed. It warned Emma to leave and tell the villagers never to harm the river or the tree again. If they didn't, the village would face its wrath. Emma nodded, promising to deliver the message. As she turned to leave, the humming returned, softer now, like a lullaby, as if the spirit had gone back to sleep. Emma returned to the village, her face pale and her heart racing. She gathered the villagers and shared the spirit's warning. At first, the villagers laughed, dismissing her as a foolish girl with wild stories. But when Emma described the glowing tree and the voice in the cave, the elder stood up. "She speaks the truth," he exclaimed. His voice trembled as he reminded them of the tales they had ignored. Fear spread through the crowd. They realized their reckless acts cutting trees and dumping waste into the river had angered the spirit. The villagers agreed to respect the tree and river. but some secretly doubted Emma's words. A week passed, and the village returned to its routines. Despite the warnings, a few villagers, driven by greed, ventured near the tree at night to search for hidden treasures. They believed Emma's story about the glowing pool hinted at riches beneath the tree. That night, the humming grew louder than ever, echoing through the village like a warning bell. Emma woke from her sleep, sensing something was wrong. She grabbed her lantern and ran to the tree. When she arrived, she saw the men trapped in the roots, their terrified faces pleading for help. The tree had come alive, wrapping them like vines. The ground shook as the spirit's voice boomed through the forest. "I warned you," it roared. Emma knelt by the tree, pleading with the spirit to release the men. The glow from the tree flickered, as though it was considering her request. "They have disrespected the river and the forest," the voice said. "But you have shown respect and courage." The spirit loosened the roots, releasing the men. Trembling, they fled back to the village, vowing never to return. The humming softened, but the spirit warned Emma that this was their final chance. If the river or tree were harmed again, the village would face destruction. Emma and the elder gathered the villagers once more and shared what had happened. This time, no one doubted her story. They worked together to clean the river, planting trees along its banks and promising to leave the humming tree undisturbed. The humming became a gentle melody, a sign that the spirit was pleased. Emma often visited the tree to ensure its safety. Though the villagers avoided it, they respected its presence. The elder declared the river and its tree sacred, and a new tradition began. Every year, the villagers left offerings of flowers by the river to honor the spirit. Years later, Emma sat by the humming tree, now an old woman with stories to tell. The tree still hummed softly, a sound that no longer brought fear but comfort. The village thrived, and the river ran clear. Children often asked Emma about the tree, and she told them of her brave journey and the spirit's warning. One quiet night, as Emma rested by the tree, the humming stopped. She looked up and saw the green glow fade for the last time. The spirit, content with the village's change, had finally found peace. The tree remained a guardian of the forest, and Emma's story became a legend, teaching generations to respect nature and its mysteries. Years after the spirit found peace, strange things began to happen again in the village. On certain moonless nights, faint whispers could be heard near the humming tree. The villagers thought it was just the wind, but Emma's granddaughter, Lily, felt something different. She had inherited her grandmother's curious nature and decided to investigate. One dark evening, Lily ventured to the tree, carrying the same lantern Emma had used. The tree stood tall and silent, but as she approached, the whispers grew louder. This time they were not warnings but words calling her name. "Lily. Come closer," they whispered. Fear and curiosity battled in her heart, but she stepped closer to uncover the truth. Lily noticed a hollow in the tree's trunk, which hadn't been there before. From within, a faint golden light shone, pulsing like a heartbeat. As she reached out to touch it, the whispers stopped, and a vision filled her mind. She saw the past, the spirit, the glowing pool, and her grandmother standing bravely before the tree. The vision revealed a hidden truth: the spirit's peace was not eternal. A darker force, trapped deep within the river's depths, was beginning to awaken. This force had been dormant for centuries, but the spirit's absence had allowed it to stir. Lily realized that her journey was only beginning, and she had to act quickly to protect the village. Lily hurried back to the village and sought out the new elder, a kind woman named Marla, who had studied the ancient tales of Ravenwood. Marla listened intently as Lily described the whispers and the vision. The dark force is known as the Shadow Tide, Marla explained. It is a restless energy that feeds on fear and despair. It was once bound by the spirit, but now it threatens to rise again. Lily asked how they could stop it. Marla handed her an old scroll with instructions on how to summon the spirit back to its guardian role. You must perform the ritual at the river's heart, Marla said, but it is dangerous. The Shadow Tide will try to stop you. Lily nodded, determined to protect her home, just as Emma had done. Lily gathered the items for the ritual: a vial of pure river water, a branch from the humming tree, and a glowing crystal that Marla had given her. With the villagers watching from afar, she made her way to the river's heart, a deep, swirling pool hidden in the forest. The air grew colder, and the whispers returned, louder and more menacing. As she reached the pool, the Shadow Tide revealed itself, a swirling mass of dark mist with glowing red eyes. It hissed and roared, trying to scare Lily away. She stood firm, chanting the ancient words from the scroll. The mist lashed out, but the crystal's light shielded her. The pool began to glow, and the water rippled with energy. The ritual reached its peak as the humming tree's branch began to glow in Lily's hands. The water erupted in a brilliant light, and the spirit of the river emerged, its form shimmering like moonlight. You have awakened me, it said, its voice calm yet powerful. The Shadow Tide must be sealed once more. The spirit fought the dark force, their energies clashing like thunder. Lily held the crystal high, channeling its light to aid the spirit. Slowly, the Shadow Tide weakened, its screams fading into the night. With one final surge, the spirit sealed the darkness deep within the river's depths. The water calmed, and the spirit turned to Lily. Your bravery has saved your village, it said. The villagers cheered as Lily returned, her face glowing with triumph. The humming tree hummed softly, a sign that the spirit had regained its strength. The village once again vowed to respect the river and its guardian. Lily became a hero, her name forever tied to the legend of the humming tree. Years later, the village flourished under the spirit's watchful gaze. Lily often visited the tree, feeling a deep connection to the land and its mysteries. The whispers never returned, but the humming remained, a gentle reminder of the bond between the villagers and the sacred river. And so, the tale of the humming tree lived on, inspiring generations to honor nature's power and beauty. Years passed peacefully, and Lily grew older, passing the stories of the humming tree to her children. But one fateful night, the humming changed. It grew louder, deeper, and carried a strange rhythm, almost like a cry for help. The villagers were alarmed and gathered at Lily's home. It's happening again, they murmured, fear in their voices. Lily, now a wise matron, knew the spirit was trying to communicate. She hurried to the tree with her lantern. The once calm glow of the tree was flickering wildly. As Lily touched its bark, a vision filled her mind. A storm was coming, a storm not of rain, but of fire, shadows, and chaos. The land's balance was in danger once more. The Shadow Tide, though sealed, had left traces in the river's waters. Over time, these traces had gathered strength, feeding off the fears and doubts of the villagers. The vision showed Lily that the dark force had taken a new form, a creature born from both shadow and fire, lurking deep beneath the forest. This creature, known as the Ember Shade, sought revenge. The spirit's voice spoke softly in Lily's mind. "You must gather the courage of your people," it said. "Only unity can banish the ember shade." Lily returned to the village and shared the vision. The people, though scared, trusted her wisdom. They prepared themselves for a battle unlike any they had faced. Guided by the spirit, Lily led the villagers to the heart of the forest, where the ember shade was said to rise. They brought offerings of flowers, pure water, and glowing lanterns to strengthen the spirit's power. The trees seemed to whisper encouragement, their branches swaying as if alive. As they reached the clearing, the ground shook. The ember shade emerged, its fiery eyes glaring and its shadowy form towering over them. The villagers trembled, but Lily stepped forward. She held the spirit's crystal high, its light cutting through the darkness. The ember shade roared, unleashing waves of heat and shadow that threatened to consume them all. In the chaos, the humming tree's voice rang out like a melody in the wind, calming the villagers' fears. "Hold your ground," the spirit urged. The villagers formed a circle, holding hands and chanting the ancient words Lily had taught them. Their unity created a shield of light, pushing back the ember shade's fiery attacks. The spirit appeared, its glowing form brighter than ever. It battled the ember shade, their energies clashing in a storm of fire and light. The villagers, inspired by Lily's courage, joined in, pouring their strength into the spirit's light. Slowly, the ember shade began to weaken, its fiery glow dimming. The battle reached its peak as the ember shade unleashed one final, desperate attack. Flames surged toward the villagers, but the spirit shielded them with its light. Lily stepped forward, holding the crystal and the branch from the humming tree. She spoke the final words of the chant, her voice steady and strong. The crystal erupted in a brilliant light, engulfing the ember shade. Its roar echoed through the forest as it dissolved into sparks of ash and shadow, finally defeated. The villagers cheered, their fears replaced by hope and relief. The spirit, though weary, stood tall, its presence a reminder of the bond they had forged. With the ember shade gone, the forest returned to its peaceful state. The humming tree hummed softly, its melody carrying a sense of triumph and harmony. The villagers celebrated their victory, planting new trees and honoring the spirit with a grand festival by the river. Lily, now a legend herself, passed on the tales of the humming tree to the younger generation. She taught them to respect the land, the river, and the mysteries of the forest. The humming remained a comforting sound, a reminder of the power of unity and courage. And so the village thrived, forever protected by the spirit's gentle light. Months after the defeat of the ember shade, the humming tree remained calm, its melody softer than ever. The village had returned to normal life, but Lily couldn't shake a feeling deep in her heart. Something unfinished lingered in the air. One evening, as she sat under the tree, she heard a faint whisper. Unlike the earlier warnings, this whisper was neither threatening nor urgent. It sounded curious. The whisper seemed to come from the roots of the tree, urging Lily to dig. Taking her lantern and a small spade, she began to carefully uncover the soil. Beneath the surface, she found an ancient stone tablet etched with strange symbols and a message: "The river's guardian is not alone. Another protector waits." Lily stared at the inscription, her mind racing. Who was this other protector? Lily shared the discovery with Marla, who studied the symbols on the tablet. After hours of deciphering, Marla revealed that the message referred to a hidden guardian, a companion to the spirit of the river. This guardian, however, had been lost long ago, separated during a great storm that had nearly destroyed the land centuries before. The guardian was said to rest beneath the ruins of an ancient temple deep in the forest. The village had avoided those ruins for generations, believing them to be cursed. But Lily knew she had to venture there to find the lost protector. She gathered her courage, and with a small group of brave villagers, she set out on a journey into the unknown. The journey to the temple was fraught with challenges. The forest grew darker and denser as they approached, and strange noises echoed around them. The villagers whispered prayers, clutching their lanterns tightly. Finally, they reached the temple, an overgrown structure of crumbling stone and twisted vines. The air was thick, as if the place held its breath. Inside the temple, they found carvings of two guardians, the spirit of the river and a creature shaped like a majestic bird, its wings spread wide. In the center of the temple, a pedestal held a glowing feather. As Lily reached for it, a burst of wind shook the room. Shadows emerged from the walls, forming creatures with hollow eyes. The group stood their ground, knowing this was a test of their resolve. Lily chanted the ancient words engraved on the pedestal, her voice steady despite the swirling shadows. The feather began to glow brighter, filling the temple with a golden light. The shadowy creatures dissolved into mist, and the air grew calm. From the pedestal, a figure emerged, a radiant bird-like guardian with shimmering wings. The guardian spoke in a voice that echoed like song and thunder. "You have awakened me," it said. "I am the Sky Warden, protector of balance alongside the river spirit. Long have I slept, waiting for the call." Lily explained the recent events and the danger the village had faced. The Sky Warden nodded solemnly. "The bond between land and sky must be restored," it said. "Take me to the humming tree." The journey back to the village felt different. The forest seemed lighter, as if the trees themselves were celebrating. When they reached the humming tree, the Sky Warden stood before it, spreading its glowing wings. The tree's hum grew louder, more vibrant, and a beam of light shot into the sky. The river spirit appeared, its form blending with the tree's glow. The two guardians greeted each other with reverence. "Together we are whole," the Sky Warden said. The villagers watched in awe as the tree's melody became a symphony, harmonizing with the bird's soft song. The guardians pledged to protect the land and its people, their combined power ensuring peace for generations to come. With the guardians reunited, the village entered a new era of harmony. The humming tree's song became a symbol of unity, and its glow could be seen for miles on moonlit nights. The villagers planted new trees and dedicated shrines to the river spirit and the Sky Warden, promising to honor their sacred bond. Lily, now content, spent her days teaching the younger generation the lessons of courage and respect for nature. The story of the humming tree, the ember shade, and the guardians became a cherished legend, passed down with pride. And as the years went by, the village thrived, always protected by the song of the humming tree and the watchful wings of the Sky Warden. As time passed, the village lived in peace under the protection of the guardians. But Lily often found herself awake at night, staring at the humming tree, wondering if their calm would last forever. There were whispers in the wind that made her uneasy, as though something was watching from the shadows. One night, she decided to venture to the riverbank alone. When she arrived at the water's edge, she felt an eerie stillness in the air. The river, usually alive with the sounds of creatures and flowing currents, was unnaturally quiet. As she peered into the dark waters, she saw a reflection not of herself, but of a figure, a shadowy silhouette. Before she could react, the figure vanished beneath the surface. Lily rushed back to the village, her heart racing. She shared her experience with the elders, who listened quietly. "This is a warning," one elder said, his voice grave. "There are deeper forces at work, forces that we do not yet understand. The guardians may not be enough to protect us from what lies beneath." The village gathered at the humming tree the next morning, hoping for guidance. The tree's hum had changed, now darker and more uncertain. The river spirit's voice echoed through the branches. The silent watcher stirs beneath the river. He has been waiting for centuries, and now the time has come for him to rise. The villagers gasped in fear. Who was this silent watcher, and why had he waited so long to reveal himself? Lily, determined to protect her people, knew she had to face this new threat. She gathered a group of the bravest villagers, and they set out to uncover the secrets of the silent watcher. They traveled upstream, following the river's winding path to its source, where the waters were said to flow from an ancient spring. As they approached the spring, the air grew colder, and the trees twisted as if they, too, were afraid. The water in the spring had a strange, glowing quality. It shimmered with a deep, unnatural blue. In the center of the spring, they found an altar half submerged in the water. The altar was covered in runes, and at its heart lay a stone carved with the same symbols that had once appeared on the tablet. Lily placed her hand on the stone, feeling a surge of power. Suddenly, the ground shook, and the river began to roar as if it were alive. From beneath the water, a massive figure rose, a dark, shadowy creature with glowing eyes and a crown of twisted thorns. The silent watcher had awakened. He was the ancient guardian of the river, older than the spirit and the sky warden, and far more powerful. His voice boomed through the air, a low, guttural sound. "You have disturbed my rest," he growled. "Now you will pay the price." The villagers stood frozen, their fear overwhelming them. But Lily, fueled by the strength of the guardians and the love she had for her village, stepped forward. Lily raised the spirit's crystal, her hand shaking but determined. The river spirit's voice filled her mind. "The silent watcher's power comes from the water, but it can be broken with light." Lily focused on the crystal, calling upon the guardians. The sky warden appeared, its wings stretching wide, and together with the river spirit, they summoned a beam of light that pierced through the water. The silent watcher roared in fury, but the light grew brighter, enveloping him in a halo of pure energy. As the light intensified, the watcher's form began to dissolve, his shadowy shape fading into the mist. The ground trembled as the last of his power was vanquished, and with a final cry, he was gone. The river returned to its peaceful state, its waters flowing gently once again. The villagers, exhausted but victorious, gathered at the river's edge, watching the last traces of the silent watcher fade away. The guardians, their forms now glowing brightly, appeared beside Lily. "You have proven your strength and courage," the river spirit said. "The silent watcher will never threaten this land again," the sky warden added. "Together, we will keep the balance, watching over the river and the land forever." Lily smiled, knowing that the village was safe once more. The humming tree's song was soft, yet full of life, as it had been in the beginning. And as the sun set over the river, Lily felt a deep peace, knowing that the guardian's watch would never end, and the land would thrive in harmony for generations to come. The village was finally at peace. The river flowed gently, and the humming tree's song was more beautiful than ever. However, Lily felt a strange presence watching over her. One evening, As she sat beneath the tree, she noticed a faint shadow crossing the river. It moved in a way that didn't belong to the natural world. Worried, Lily ventured down to the water's edge, but found nothing. Yet, the uneasy feeling remained. The river spirit spoke softly in her mind. A shadow still lingers, though the watcher is gone. Beware, for there are always remnants of the past that refuse to fade. Lily gathered the elders and spoke of her fears. They decided to investigate the river deeper, believing that something hidden beneath might still hold power. The villagers built a small boat and sailed to the heart of the river, where the water was darkest. As they sailed, Lily heard a soft whispering coming from the depths, but it wasn't the voice of the silent watcher. It was something older, colder. The voice echoed from the bottom of the river, carrying secrets that had been buried for centuries. The villagers rowed faster, afraid of what they might uncover, but the whispers grew louder, almost urging them to listen. The boat reached a sunken stone structure, half hidden by the overgrown riverbank. This was no ordinary temple, it was a tomb, forgotten by time. The water swirled around the entrance, and a cold wind swept through, carrying a sense of sorrow. Lily stepped forward, the only one brave enough to approach. As she entered the tomb, she saw carvings of ancient figures, guardians of the river, but not like the ones they knew. These beings were darker, their faces twisted in eternal grief. One of them, a figure shrouded in shadow, was carved larger than the rest. Lily realized with a chill that this was the source of the lingering darkness, the true creator of the silent watcher. The air inside the tomb grew thick, and Lily could feel the weight of the shadow pressing in. A voice echoed in the tomb, "You are too late, child. The river will never be free of my legacy." The shadowed figure from the carving suddenly came to life, its form shifting and growing until it towered over her. Lily tried to move, but her feet were rooted to the ground by the powerful force of the shadow. It laughed softly, a sound that seemed to come from all directions. "I was the first to guard the river, and now I shall be its eternal ruler," it hissed. Lily closed her eyes, remembering the guardian's teachings. The strength of the river spirit and the sky warden filled her heart. With newfound courage, she reached for the crystal pendant given to her by the river spirit, holding it high. The pendant began to glow brightly, casting light that filled the tomb with warmth. The shadow creature recoiled, its form flickering as if struggling to maintain its shape. Lily called out to the river spirit, invoking the power that had once saved the village. The ground trembled as the waters of the river began to rise around the tomb, swirling with energy. The river spirit appeared, its form radiating with light, and together with the sky warden, they faced the shadow creature. The shadow writhed, unable to withstand the combined force of the two guardians. With a mighty roar, the shadow shattered into thousands of wisps of dark mist, dissipating into the air. The tomb's heavy atmosphere lifted, and the river flowed peacefully once again. The village awoke to a new dawn, the sun rising over the calm waters of the river. The humming tree's song was filled with joy, its melody echoing across the land. The guardians had returned to their eternal watch, their power united to protect the river and its people. Lily stood beneath the tree, watching the sunlight filter through the leaves. She felt a deep peace within her soul, knowing that the shadow had been banished for good. The village was safe, and the guardians were more powerful than ever before. And so, the legacy of the humming tree continued, as did the song of the river, a melody that would echo through the ages. a symbol of harmony and protection, forever guiding those who listened with open hearts. Months passed, and Lily often found herself gazing at the river with gratitude. However, a strange sense of curiosity began to grow within her. While the village was safe and the Guardian's power restored, she couldn't help but wonder if there were still other mysteries buried within the land. One day, while exploring the riverbanks, Lily noticed a narrow path leading deeper into the forest. She followed it, and after a short walk, she found herself in front of a hidden cave. The entrance was covered by thick vines and dark moss, but something about it felt familiar, as if it had been waiting for her. With a deep breath, Lily pushed aside the vines and stepped into the cave. The air inside the cave was cold and damp. The walls were covered in ancient markings, symbols that looked similar to those she had seen in the tomb before. As Lily ventured deeper, she noticed a faint echo, as if the cave itself was alive with whispers of the past. At the very heart of the cave, she discovered a large stone altar. On it lay an object, glowing faintly with a soft blue light. As she approached, the echo grew louder, and the voice of the river spirit whispered in her mind, "This is the heart of the river, the source of all life here. It must never fall into the wrong hands." Lily understood the gravity of what she had found. The heart was the true foundation of the river's power and the balance that kept the land protected. Just as Lily reached for the heart of the river, a shadow moved in the corner of her eye. She spun around, her heart pounding, but saw nothing. Then she heard a faint voice calling her name. It was not the river spirit, but something darker, more familiar. Lily, the voice called again, and this time it was unmistakable. It was the silent watcher's voice, distant yet filled with a cold, menacing tone. She stepped back, feeling the weight of his presence in the cave, even though he was no longer there. The heart of the river pulsed with energy, reacting to the darkness that still lingered in the land. Lily knew that the battle for the river's soul wasn't over yet. The air around Lily grew thick with tension. She could feel a change in the cave, as if the shadows themselves were shifting and awakening. As she held the heart, the whispering grew louder, now joined by the voices of others, villagers, long forgotten guardians of the past, who had fallen to the darkness. Lily's hand trembled as she placed the heart back on the altar, but the moment she did, the cave began to shake. A dark mist swirled around her, taking the shape of a towering figure, the silent watcher resurrected once more, this time from the depths of the earth itself. "You cannot escape me," Lily, his voice echoed through the cave. "I will reclaim what is mine." Lily stood tall, facing the silent watcher with determination. She knew that this was the moment that would determine the fate of the river and the village. She called upon the river spirit, feeling its presence flood her heart with warmth and light. The river spirit appeared, its form a shining beacon in the darkness. "You have the strength within you, Lily. Together, we will protect the river," it said. The silent watcher roared, his shadowy form growing larger. The ground cracked beneath his feet as he charged toward them. But Lily raised the heart of the river high, and the Guardian's power surged through her. A brilliant light erupted from the heart, blinding the watcher. The light grew, wrapping around the dark figure, pushing him back. With a final cry, the silent watcher disintegrated, his form collapsing into nothingness. The darkness that had once threatened to consume the land vanished, and the cave grew still. As the cave returned to its peaceful state, the river spirit spoke to Lily once more, its voice filled with pride. "You have done it, Lily. The river and the land are safe once again." The balance has been restored, and the darkness is no more. The heart of the river, now glowing with a steady light, was returned to its rightful place in the cave. The guardians had fulfilled their purpose, and the land was now under their eternal protection. The village, free from fear, began to thrive once more. Lily emerged from the cave, standing at the river's edge. The sun set in the distance, casting golden rays across the water. The humming tree swayed in the breeze, its song as sweet as ever. And Lily knew, with a peaceful heart, that the story of the humming tree and the haunted river would continue to echo through the ages. Years passed, and the village flourished under the guardian's protection. Yet, Lily often felt a strange pull at her heart, as though something was calling her from far away. One evening, as the sun set and the river glowed with a soft, silvery light, she stood by the humming tree, her thoughts drifting. Suddenly, her vision blurred, and she felt herself slipping into a strange, waking dream. The river's song became more vibrant, but the sound was different now, echoing with a melody that seemed familiar, yet distant. As she listened, a voice soft and full of wisdom whispered to her, "The time has come for the river to speak its truth." The dreamlike vision became clearer, and Lily saw a figure standing by the riverbank, a figure she had not seen in years, the river spirit. But this time, it looked different. It seemed older, wiser, with a deep sadness in its eyes. Lily, the river spirit, spoke, its voice both gentle and heavy. "The time has come to reveal the truth that has long been hidden beneath these waters. The river has always been more than a source of life. It is a keeper of secrets, a witness to the passing of time. There are stories, forgotten by all but the river, waiting to be heard." Lily's heart raced as she listened, realizing that this was a message meant for her alone. The river spirit led Lily to a hidden grove, where the trees were ancient and their roots seemed to touch the river itself. Here, the air was thick with mystery, and the ground was covered with symbols that Lily had never seen before. "These are the forgotten stories," the river spirit explained. "Stories that were lost to time, hidden beneath the surface of the water. They are the voices of those who once lived here, people whose names were erased by the flow of time. But their stories remain, waiting to be remembered." Lily kneeled before the symbols, feeling a deep connection to the land. As she touched one of the carvings, memories flooded her mind, memories of ancient voices, lost loves, battles fought in silence, and sacrifices made for the river's protection. The symbols on the ground began to glow with a soft blue light, and the air around Lily thickened with the presence of the past. She saw visions, brief flashes of people long gone, their faces filled with emotion. Some were smiling, others crying, but all were connected by the river. "These were the guardians before you," Lily, the river spirit, whispered. "Each of them gave a piece of their soul to protect the river. Now, their voices have faded into silence, but their spirits are still here, watching over you." Lily felt a deep sense of responsibility, knowing that the guardian's legacy had been passed to her. It was not just her destiny to protect the river, but to honor the stories of those who had come before her. The river spirit's voice grew more somber as it continued. "There is one story that must be told, one story that was never finished. It is the story of the Silent Watcher, whose legacy still lingers in the river's depths. You must hear it, Lily, for only by understanding the past can you truly protect the future." As the river spirit spoke, Lily felt herself drawn into the past, where she witnessed the Silent Watcher's rise. He was once a guardian, a protector of the river, but his heart grew dark with jealousy and greed. He sought to control the river's power, believing it should belong to him alone. His desire for dominance caused a rift between him and the other guardians, and in his rage he was banished. But his spirit lingered, twisted by hatred, and the river became tainted by his darkness. Now Lily understood that the Silent Watcher's story was far from over. He had been defeated, but his influence still seeped into the land. As the last of the visions faded, Lily stood in the grove, the weight of the stories heavy on her heart. She knew what she had to do. The river's power was not just a gift, it was a responsibility. It was her duty to protect it, to honor the past, and to ensure that the darkness of the Silent Watcher never returned. With renewed determination, Lily made an oath, her voice clear and strong. I will protect the river, its stories, and its guardians. I will keep the balance, and I will remember the past so that the future may be safe. The river spirit nodded, its form glowing with pride. The circle of time is complete, Lily. The guardians have passed their duty to you, and you have proven yourself worthy. Now the river will always be protected, and its song will never fade, and with that, Lily returned to the village, carrying the weight of the river's truth with her. The humming tree sang a melody of peace, and the river flowed gently, its voice echoing with the stories of the past and the promise of the future. Years passed peacefully, and Lily's guardianship over the river continued. The village thrived, the river's waters remained pure, and the humming tree sang its gentle melody. But even in the quiet of the village, there was a whisper, a haunting whisper, that filled Lily's dreams. One night, as she walked along the riverbank, she felt a chilling breeze sweep over her. The trees rustled, and for a moment, the river's song grew darker, filled with an unsettling sorrow. Lily's heart sank as she realized the Silent Watcher had not truly been vanquished. The river's flow was disturbed, and someone was returning. Lily stood still, the hairs on the back of her neck rising. The river, once a source of peace, now seemed to pulse with unease. The once glowing blue light from the heart of the river faded, leaving the waters dark and murky. The river spirit's voice echoed in her mind. Lily, he has returned. The Silent Watcher's spirit has not faded as we thought. His darkness is rising from the depths of the river. The balance you've worked so hard to restore is now at risk again. Lily's grip tightened on the staff she had crafted in her youth, a symbol of her bond with the river. She knew the time had come for another battle, but this time she wasn't alone. The river itself was calling to her for help. Lily gathered the village elders, telling them of the danger that loomed. As night fell, they made their way to the riverbank. The air was thick with tension as they prepared for the worst. Lily knew that to stop the Silent Watcher, they would need to uncover the ancient secrets of the river. With the villagers beside her, she ventured down to the deepest part of the river. The waters were dark, almost black, swirling in a pattern that seemed unnatural. The ground beneath her feet was slick with algae, and the very air felt heavy. At the bottom of the river, a cave loomed hidden beneath the currents, a place that had been sealed for centuries. Lily felt the pull of the Silent Watcher's dark presence within. As they entered the cave, Lily noticed symbols carved into the walls, symbols she had seen before, long ago. This was the heart of the river, the place where the first guardians had sealed away the power of darkness. The Silent Watcher's power had been buried here, and Lily knew that only by performing the forgotten ritual could they hope to stop him. With the villagers' help, Lily prepared the sacred rites. They chanted the old words, invoking the power of the river's guardians. The air grew colder, and the river's song became distant, replaced by an eerie silence. Suddenly, a shadow emerged from the depths. It was the Silent Watcher, his form twisted and more powerful than ever before. The Silent Watcher towered before them, his dark figure blotting out the light. "You think you can stop me?" Lily, his voice was cold, filled with rage. "I am the river's true master. You cannot defeat me again." Lily stood firm, holding the heart of the river high above her head. The villagers surrounded her, chanting the ancient words with all their might. The air crackled with energy, and the river itself seemed to react, as if it were alive, responding to their call. The Silent Watcher roared in fury as the light from the heart of the river began to shine brighter. It grew stronger and stronger, pushing back the darkness. But the Watcher's power was immense, and the battle raged on, each side struggling for control. The struggle continued, and Lily could feel the river's strength waning as the Silent Watcher fought to regain control. Her heart raced as she pushed the power of the heart to its limits, the light from it now filling the entire cave. With a final, deafening cry, the Silent Watcher collapsed, his dark form dissolving into the river's depths. The cave trembled, and for a moment it seemed as if the world itself might shatter. But then, just as quickly, everything fell still. The river's waters began to clear, the blackness vanishing as if it had never existed. The heart of the river glowed with a steady light, and the song of the humming tree echoed through the air once more, sweet and pure. Lily stood victorious, the river's power restored, and the village safe. The Silent Watcher was gone for good, and with him, the darkness that had once threatened to consume the land. The battle with the Silent Watcher had left its mark, but the river was calm once more. The villagers, who had stood by Lily in the darkness, began to return to their homes, their faces relieved but weary. The river's song now echoed with peace, a harmony that spread throughout the land. Lily stood alone by the riverbank, feeling the cool breeze brush against her face. The humming tree, now glowing softly under the moonlight, seemed to hum a different melody, one of gratitude. It was a sound that reminded Lily of all she had fought for and all that she had saved. But as she stood there, she felt a stirring in the earth beneath her feet, as if the land itself was alive and watching. The days after the battle were quiet, but they weren't without their challenges. Though the Silent Watcher was gone, Lily knew the balance of the river had been forever altered. There were still old, forgotten stories to be uncovered, ancient secrets yet to be revealed. One evening, as she walked through the village, a child approached her, holding a strange stone in his hand. "I found this by the river," Lily, the child said, his eyes wide with curiosity. "I think it's special." Lily took the stone, feeling its warmth. It was smooth and carved with the same symbols she had seen in the cave symbols of the river's deepest power. A sense of unease washed over her. This was a sign she knew. The past was never truly gone, and the future was still full of mysteries. With the stone in her possession, Lily returned to the river's edge. The river's waters were still, but the stone seemed to pulse with energy, its glow brighter in the moonlight. She placed it gently on the ground, and as she did, a strange ripple spread across the river's surface. The humming tree hummed a louder song, one that seemed to reach deep into the earth, calling forth something long buried. Lily's heart raced as the river began to shift, revealing an ancient path beneath its waters. This was no ordinary path, it was the Forgotten River, a river that had been hidden away for centuries, its purpose and power unknown. Lily stepped forward, the stone still glowing softly in her hand. She followed the path beneath the water, each step taking her deeper into the heart of the river. The air grew thick with mystery, and the river's song was now a low hum, vibrating through her bones. The path twisted and turned, leading her to a secluded part of the river that she had never seen before. There, hidden in the shadows, was a stone doorway covered with moss and vines. The symbols on the door matched those on the stone. Lily knew that she had uncovered something far greater than she had ever imagined. With a deep breath, she placed the stone into a small indent in the doorway. It clicked, and the door slowly creaked open, revealing a vast chamber beyond. Inside the chamber, the air was cool, and the walls were lined with more symbols, ancient writings that told stories of the river's earliest days. The room was filled with echoes of the past, whispers of those who had come before. These were the first guardians, the original protectors of the river, who had hidden their most sacred secrets in this chamber. Lily walked carefully into the chamber, her footsteps echoing. As she moved deeper inside, she saw an altar at the center, surrounded by glowing stones. Each stone seemed to represent a different part of the river's power: water, earth, fire, and air. At the altar's center was a crystal, glowing brightly with a light that filled the room. This was the heart of the river, the true source of all its power. It was more magnificent than anything Lily had ever seen, and she knew in her heart that this was what the stone had been leading her to. As Lily stood before the heart of the river, the whispers grew louder, almost as if the chamber itself was speaking to her. The voice of the river spirit echoed in her mind, "You have done well, Lily. But now you face a choice, one that will define the future of the river and its guardians." Lily looked at the crystal, feeling its immense power. The river's strength was in her hands, but with that power came a great responsibility. She could choose to take the heart of the river, becoming its new guardian, or she could leave it and allow the next generation to carry the legacy forward. The river spirit's voice softened. The balance must be maintained, but only you can decide what is best for the future. Lily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her decision. The river had been her life's purpose, and now, more than ever, it was her duty to protect it. With a steady hand, she reached for the crystal, knowing that whatever the future held, she was ready to face it. As Lily touched the crystal, a surge of energy shot through her body. It was as if the river's very essence flowed into her veins, filling her with warmth, power, and knowledge. The heart of the river was now a part of her, and she could feel its presence in every ripple of the water, every gust of wind, and every whisper of the trees. The chamber around her seemed to glow with the energy of the river. The symbols on the walls shimmered, and the ancient writings seemed to come alive, telling her stories of old guardians who had faced similar choices. They had all chosen to protect the river, to preserve its balance. And now, it was her turn to take up that mantle. But as she stood there, feeling the weight of the responsibility, a sudden whisper echoed in her mind. "Beware, Lily. The river's power is not easily controlled." Lily hesitated, feeling the power of the heart of the river pulsing through her. She had always known the river was magical, but now she could feel its true depth. It was a living force with emotions, desires, and a will of its own. The river spirit's voice returned, calm yet firm. The heart of the river connects all things earth, water, life, and death. If you do not honor it, the balance will tip, and the river's power could consume you. Lily's heart raced. She had made the choice to protect the river, but the power she now held was greater than anything she had imagined. The weight of her decision began to settle in her chest, but there was no turning back. She had to embrace the river's power to ensure its safety and her own. As Lily began to absorb the river's energy, the sky outside darkened. The winds picked up, and the once calm waters began to churn. A storm, unlike any she had seen before, began to brew on the horizon. The humming tree's song turned erratic, its melody growing darker and more frantic. The river, too, seemed to respond, its waters shifting in an unsettling pattern. The balance was shifting, and Lily could feel the storm's force drawing closer. "It is the storm of the river's anger," the river spirit warned. "It is testing your strength, Lily. Will you rise to control it, or will it overwhelm you?" Lily closed her eyes and focused. She could feel the storm's fury, but she also felt the calm beneath it, the steady heartbeat of the river. She reached out with her mind, calming the waters with a single thought. With a deep breath, Lily reached for the heart of the river, focusing all her energy on its pulse. She felt the storm beginning to subside, the winds weakening as she gently steered the river's currents back into balance. The humming tree's song softened, its notes now filled with a sense of harmony. The river's waters began to settle, their once turbulent flow returning to its peaceful rhythm. The storm, though fierce, had been tamed. "You have done well," Lily the river spirit whispered, its voice warm and approving. "The storm was a test, and you have passed. The river is yours to protect, but you must always remember its power is not just for control. It is for harmony." Lily exhaled, her heart still racing, but she knew the river was safe for now. As the storm passed and the river's waters calmed, Lily stood in the chamber, feeling the weight of her new role as guardian. The energy from the heart of the river still pulsed through her, but it was no longer overwhelming. She had found her balance, and the river had found its peace. The humming tree, once again, began to hum its soft melody, the sound now sweeter and more soothing than ever. The river's song joined in, filling the air with a harmony that resonated deep within her soul. This was the true power of the river, not in controlling it, but in understanding it, in living alongside it. The villagers, too, could feel the change. The river's peace spread throughout the land, and the air seemed lighter. The river, once again, was a source of life and joy for all who lived by it. Lily stood by the riverbank, watching the sun set over the water, the colors of the sky reflecting in the calm surface. And the river, now in perfect harmony, seemed to sing a song of gratitude, as if thanking her for her dedication. As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, the river spirit spoke one final time. "You have proven yourself, Lily. You are now the true guardian of the river, and its power will flow with you always." Lily nodded, her heart swelling with pride. She had chosen to protect the river, and in doing so, she had become a part of it. The river's song was hers to carry, and she knew she would honor that promise for as long as she lived. With the humming tree beside her and the river's song in her heart, Lily walked back to the village, knowing that her journey as the guardian was just beginning. Lily had been the river's guardian for many moons now, and life had returned to a peaceful rhythm. The villagers had come to rely on her wisdom, often seeking her guidance in times of trouble. The river, too, flowed steadily, its waters calm and clear, a reflection of the harmony between the earth and the sky. Yet one night, as Lily stood by the river's edge, the air grew thick with an unfamiliar energy. The humming tree's song had grown faint, its melody weak and distant. It was as though something was calling to her, something beyond the river, deep within the land. The river spirit's voice echoed softly in her mind. Lily, there is something more, a deeper mystery that stirs beneath the earth. The balance is shifting again, and it is time for you to seek the truth. The next day, Lily ventured into the forest surrounding the river, her footsteps light but determined. She followed the faint whispers carried by the wind, as though the trees themselves were guiding her. The forest had always been her sanctuary, but today it felt different, more alive, as though something ancient had awakened. As she walked deeper into the woods, she came upon a hidden grove, one she had never noticed before. The trees here were older, their trunks twisted and gnarled, their roots digging deep into the earth. At the center of the grove was a stone well, its surface covered in moss and vines. Lily approached the well, feeling the pull of the mysterious energy. She knelt down and peered inside, but the darkness was all-consuming. It felt as though something was watching her from within. Lily reached out, her hand trembling slightly as she touched the stone. The moment her fingers made contact, a low, echoing voice filled the air around her, vibrating through her very bones. "Guardian," the voice whispered, its tone both ancient and sorrowful. "You seek the truth, but know that it will not come without sacrifice. The balance of the river is tied to the land, to the roots of the earth, and to the hearts of those who dwell here." The voice seemed to come from every direction, echoing off the trees, reverberating in the very air. Lily closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The words struck a chord deep within her, and she knew the journey she had undertaken was far from over. The voice faded, leaving Lily with a sense of urgency she hadn't felt before. She knew what she had to do. The well was not just a well, it was a portal, a gateway to the land's ancient secrets. But what lay on the other side? The voice had spoken of sacrifice, and Lily knew that whatever lay beyond this well would challenge her in ways she could not yet understand. With a steady heart, she placed both hands on the stone's edge and began to chant the ancient words she had learned from the river. As she spoke, the stone began to glow, its surface warming beneath her palms. The ground trembled, and slowly, the well began to open, revealing a hidden staircase leading deep beneath the earth. Lily took a deep breath and descended into the darkness, determined to uncover the secrets buried within. The air grew cooler as Lily descended into the depths, the staircase winding downward into an unknown world. The walls of the tunnel were lined with strange symbols, some familiar, some foreign. The deeper she went, the stronger the feeling that she was not alone grew. The silence in the tunnel was thick, oppressive, and every step seemed to echo, as though the earth itself was holding its breath. At last, she reached the bottom, where a vast underground cavern opened before her. The space was filled with shimmering crystals that reflected the faint light of the stone she held in her hand. In the center of the cavern stood an ancient tree, its roots tangled and twisted, its branches reaching toward the ceiling. This was no ordinary tree. The energy it emitted was unlike anything Lily had ever felt before. It was pure, untamed, and ancient. This was the true heart of the land, the source of all the power that flowed through the river and the forest. As Lily approached the tree, the air seemed to shift around her. The roots of the tree parted, revealing a stone pedestal beneath it. Atop the pedestal lay a glowing orb, its light pulsing with the rhythm of the earth itself. Lily stepped forward, feeling an overwhelming sense of connection to the orb. She reached out and placed her hands on it. The moment she did, the tree's branches trembled, and a deep, resonant voice filled the cavern. "You are the chosen one," Lily, the voice said, echoing with power. "You have walked the path of the river, and now you must walk the path of the land. The balance must be restored, for the river cannot live without the earth, and the earth cannot thrive without the river." Lily closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the truth settle in her chest. She was not just the guardian of the river, she was the guardian of the land itself. The power of both the river and the earth was now in her hands, and it was her responsibility to keep them in harmony. Lily stood before the ancient tree, her hands still resting on the glowing orb. The energy that surged through her was unlike anything she had ever felt. It was a connection to everything: the river, the earth, and the very pulse of life itself. Yet with that power came a heavy burden. The voice from the tree spoke again, softer now. "The balance you seek to protect is fragile. With great power comes great responsibility. You must understand that this power is not meant to control, but to nurture. It is for the earth, the river, and all life." Lily's heart swelled with both pride and fear. Could she truly bear such a responsibility? She had always been a protector, but this power was far beyond what she had imagined. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes, promising herself she would honor the river and the land, no matter the cost. As Lily stepped away from the pedestal, the orb in her hands glowing brighter, the earth beneath her feet trembled. The ground cracked, and a rush of wind swept through the cavern, carrying with it the distant sound of the river. The tree's voice rang out, filled with urgency. "The balance is already shifting. The river calls to you, but the earth stirs with unrest. You must act quickly before the forces of nature are torn apart without hesitation." Lily turned and hurried toward the tunnel that led to the surface. Her connection to both the river and the land was strong, but she could feel the chaos that was beginning to unfold. The earth was in turmoil, and the river was crying for help. She needed to restore balance, but time was running out. Emerging from the cavern, Lily raced toward the riverbank. The once calm waters were now swollen, the current fierce and unyielding. The trees along the river's edge swayed wildly, as if reacting to an unseen force. The humming tree's song was frantic, its notes sharp and dissonant. The river was no longer a peaceful presence, it was a raging force, its waters rising higher and higher, threatening to overflow and destroy everything in its path. Lily could hear the whispers of the river spirit in her mind, calling her to restore the balance. She reached out with her senses, feeling the storm brewing beneath the surface of the river. It was as though the land and the river were fighting, each pulling in opposite directions. The choice before Lily was clear. The river and the land were both in pain, each struggling for dominance. She could use the power she had gained to force one side to submit, to control the land or the river. But doing so would destroy the balance. Something deep within her told her that such a choice would come at an unimaginable cost. She took a deep breath, closing her eyes and focusing on the flow of energy between the river and the land. She felt the pulse of the earth beneath her, the steady rhythm of the river, and the gentle hum of the trees. They were all part of one living, breathing system, each dependent on the other. Lily knew what she had to do. She couldn't choose one over the other. She had to heal the rift between them, to make them work together once again. Lily knelt at the river's edge, holding the glowing orb tightly in her hands. She closed her eyes, focusing all her energy on the river and the land. Slowly, she began to chant the ancient words she had learned, her voice steady and calm. The orb in her hands pulsed with light, its glow brighter than before. As she spoke, the river's waters began to slow, the storm receding. The wind calmed, and the trees stopped their frantic swaying. The earth beneath her feet felt solid once again, its energy flowing smoothly. Lily could feel the power of the river and the land aligning, their forces coming into harmony. It was as though the earth and water were embracing, no longer in conflict but working together as they were always meant to. She opened her eyes and smiled. The balance had been restored. With the balance between the river and the land restored, the forest began to calm. The humming tree's song returned to its peaceful melody, and the air felt lighter, filled with a sense of calm and harmony. The river's waters were once again clear and serene, flowing gently over the earth, nourishing the land as it had for generations. Lily stood by the riverbank, watching as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden light over the water. She had kept her promise to protect the river and the land, to ensure that their connection remained strong. She knew that her journey was far from over, but for now peace had returned. The river spirit spoke softly in her mind, its voice filled with gratitude. "You have proven yourself, Lily. The river, the land, and all life are safe in your hands." Lily smiled, feeling the weight of her responsibility, but also the fulfillment that came with it. The balance had been restored, and with it, her purpose as the guardian of the river and the land. As days passed, Lily continued to stand guard by the river, watching over the land she had fought so hard to protect. The villagers had begun to notice the changes, the peaceful flow of the river, and the vibrant growth of the forest. It was as though the very heart of the land had been restored. But while peace had returned, Lily knew that her journey was far from over. The land had been healed, but she could sense there were still secrets hidden deep within the forest, still mysteries left to unravel. Her connection with the earth and the river was stronger than ever, and she knew it was calling her towards something new, something unknown. One evening, as the sky turned crimson with the setting sun, the river spirit whispered in her mind, "The land has healed, but there are still voices in the wind, echoes from the past. The journey you began has only just begun." Lily stood by the river, listening to the gentle rustle of the leaves in the trees. The breeze carried with it a faint whisper, a voice that seemed to come from the very heart of the forest. She closed her eyes, straining to catch the words. "Guardian," the voice called, soft yet clear, "there are more to be healed. More than just the river and the land. The forest itself holds secrets you have yet to discover." Lily felt a chill run down her spine. The forest had always been her sanctuary, but now it seemed to be calling her in a way she had never experienced before. The whispers were not just the wind, they were the voices of something ancient, something that had been waiting for her to return. The next morning, Lily set out once again, her heart filled with both anticipation and uncertainty. She followed the path that led deeper into the forest, a path she had walked many times before, but today it felt different. The air was thick with the scent of moss and earth, and the trees seemed to watch her, their branches reaching out like silent sentinels. As she ventured further, she came upon a hidden trail, overgrown with vines and thick underbrush. She had never noticed this path before, though it seemed to beckon her, urging her forward. Without hesitation, she pushed aside the vines and stepped onto the forgotten path. The deeper she went, the more the forest seemed to come alive. The wind carried the scent of something unfamiliar, and the trees whispered secrets in a language she could not understand. But somehow she knew she was meant to follow. After hours of walking, Lily finally arrived at the heart of the forest, a place she had never seen before. It was a secluded grove, bathed in soft, dappled sunlight. At the center of the grove stood an enormous tree, its trunk twisted and gnarled, its leaves shimmering with a silver glow. This tree was different from the humming tree. Its presence was ancient, filled with a wisdom that stretched back beyond time itself. As Lily approached, the air grew still, and she could feel the pulse of the earth beneath her feet. The tree's voice, deep and resonant, spoke without words, filling her mind with images of a time long past. It was a guardian, like her, but older, wiser. The tree had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the ebb and flow of life. The ancient tree's voice filled Lily's mind. You are not the first guardian, nor will you be the last. The land, the river, and the forest are all bound together by an ancient pact. Those who are chosen must protect the balance, for if the balance is broken, the world will fall into chaos. Lily felt a deep sense of responsibility. The truth of her role as a guardian was more profound than she had ever imagined. It was not just about protecting the river and the land, it was about maintaining the balance between all things. The river, the forest, the sky, and the earth were all interconnected, and she was the one who held that connection together. The river's cry, the tree continued, was not just for the land, but for the forest as well. There are forces at work beyond your understanding. You must be ready, for a new challenge approaches. As the tree's words echoed in her mind, Lily felt the earth beneath her tremble. The wind picked up, swirling around her in a frenzy. The once peaceful grove was now filled with an unsettling energy, as though something dark was on the horizon. She stood still, trying to understand the weight of the tree's warning. Something was coming, something that would challenge everything she had worked for. The balance she had restored was fragile, and there were forces at work that she could not yet comprehend. The tree's final words lingered in her mind: the storm will come, and with it, your true test. Be ready. Guardian Lily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the responsibility that lay ahead. She knew that her journey was far from over. The balance she had fought to restore was in danger once again, and it was up to her to protect it no matter what. As the wind howled through the trees, Lily felt a chill run down her spine. The ancient tree's warning echoed in her mind. Something dark was coming, something that would test her strength, her resolve, and the very balance she had worked so hard to restore. The river, once calm and peaceful, now rippled with unnatural waves, as though it, too, sensed the coming storm. The sky darkened, and the birds fell silent, their songs replaced by an eerie stillness. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the inevitable. Lily knew that whatever was coming, it would not be easy to face. But she also knew that she could not turn away. The land, the river, and the forest depended on her. She had to be strong, even if the storm threatened to overwhelm her. The storm arrived swiftly, like a shadow that fell across the land, darkening everything it touched. The winds howled louder, and the trees bent under its force. The river, once a gentle stream, now surged with frightening intensity, its waters crashing against the banks. Lily stood firm, her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel the energy of the storm surrounding her, trying to break her spirit. But she had faced challenges before. She had healed the land and the river, and now she had to face whatever this storm brought with courage and determination. From the depths of the river, strange figures began to emerge, shadows twisted into shapes that seemed both familiar and alien. They moved with eerie grace, their forms barely visible in the storm's fury. Lily's heart raced as she realized they were not human, but something else, something ancient and powerful. The shadows materialized into dark spirits, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. They circled around Lily, their presence sending a chill through the air. These were the spirits of the storm, born from the imbalance that had begun to plague the land. "You cannot fight us," one of the spirits whispered, its voice like a cold breeze. "The balance is broken. The earth, the river, and the forest will fall. The power of the guardians is no match for the forces of chaos." Lily stood tall, refusing to let fear control her. She had restored the balance before, and she could do it again. The spirits may have been powerful, but they were not invincible. She had the strength of the river, the forest, and the earth within her. She reached deep within herself, tapping into the power she had gained from the humming tree and the river. She could feel the energy of the land flowing through her, building with each passing moment. With a fierce cry, Lily summoned the power of the earth and the river, her hands glowing with a bright, warm light. The dark spirits recoiled, hissing as the light touched them. The river surged in response, its waters rising higher, pushing back against the shadows. But the spirits were relentless. They swirled around her, their dark energy threatening to engulf her. Lily could feel the struggle within her as the forces of light and dark collided, each one trying to claim control of the land. The storm raged on, its winds growing fiercer, as if the earth itself was caught in a battle for survival. Lily fought with all her strength, her heart focused on restoring the balance. She could feel the spirits weakening, their forms flickering as the light began to push them back. As the battle between light and shadow reached its peak, Lily realized that the storm was not just an external force, it was a manifestation of the imbalance that had been growing within the land. The spirits were not merely attacking her, they were trying to claim the very heart of the river and the earth. In that moment, Lily understood what she had to do. She could not simply fight the storm, she had to restore the heart of the land, the pulse that connected the river, the earth, and the forest. She focused all her energy on the river, calling out to it, urging it to calm. The river responded, its waters growing still. The spirits hesitated, their forms flickering with uncertainty. Lily extended her hand toward them, her voice steady. "You are a part of this world, just as I am. But chaos cannot rule here. The balance will be restored." With a final surge of power, Lily channeled the energy of the river and the earth, sending a wave of light through the storm. The spirits screamed as they were absorbed into the light, their dark forms dissolving into nothingness. The winds died down, and the storm began to fade. The river, once again calm, flowed peacefully along its banks. The trees stopped their shaking, their branches returning to their natural position. The air grew still, filled with a sense of peace and renewal. Lily sank to her knees, exhausted but triumphant. The storm had been defeated, and the balance had been restored. The land, the river, and the forest were safe once again. The humming tree's song echoed softly in the distance, its melody clear and beautiful. Lily knew that the balance was fragile, but as long as she was there to protect it, the harmony of the earth would endure. The land was still. The storm had passed, leaving behind a calmness that felt almost surreal. The air smelled fresh, as if the earth had been washed clean of its troubles. Lily stood by the river, her heart still racing from the battle, but now filled with a deep sense of peace. The trees whispered softly, their leaves rustling in the gentle breeze. The river flowed serenely, its waters clear and smooth once more. It was as though the world had been reset, returning to the harmony it had once known. But Lily knew that this calm wouldn't last forever. The balance was fragile, and the forces of chaos were always lurking, waiting for the right moment to strike again. Still, for now, the land was safe. And that was enough. As Lily walked along the riverbank, she felt a strange sensation wash over her. It was as though the river itself was speaking to her, its waters shimmering with an ethereal glow. She knelt by the edge of the river, her fingers brushing the surface. The river whispered softly, its voice like a song carried on the wind. "Guardian, you have restored the balance. But remember, the river's gift is not just its waters, it is its wisdom. You now carry the knowledge of the land within you. Use it wisely, for there will come a time when you will need it most." Lily closed her eyes, absorbing the river's words. She had always felt connected to the land, but now it was as though she had become one with it. She understood the river's message. She was not just a protector of the land, she was its voice, its heart. And with that knowledge, she would face whatever came next. Days passed, and life in the village slowly returned to normal. The river was calm, and the forest thrived. But Lily couldn't shake the feeling that something was still amiss. There was an unease in the air, a sense that the shadows had not been entirely vanquished. One night, as she sat by the river, the wind picked up, carrying with it a strange whisper. Lily stood up, her senses alert. The shadows were returning, creeping back into the land like an unseen tide. The balance was once again threatened. She knew she had to act quickly. The river's message had been clear. She had been given a gift, but she had to use it to protect the land from what was coming. Lily didn't face the darkness alone. She called upon the creatures of the forest, the animals, the trees, and the spirits of the earth. They had all aided her before, and she knew that they would stand by her once more. As she ventured deeper into the forest, she met with the wise owl, the ancient bear, and the ethereal spirits who had helped her in the past. Together they formed a circle of unity, their powers combining to protect the land from the encroaching shadows. "We are not just guardians," the owl spoke with wisdom. "We are the protectors of balance, and we must stand together. The shadows will not overcome us." Lily nodded, feeling the strength of their unity. With their help, she knew they could face whatever darkness came next. The shadows grew stronger, their presence spreading like a disease across the land. Lily and her allies gathered by the humming tree, the heart of the forest, where the power of the land was most concentrated. The air was thick with tension as the dark forces closed in. The spirits of the forest and the river stood by her side, their energy flowing into the ground, their power strengthening the earth. The battle that was about to unfold would determine the fate of the land. The balance that Lily had worked so hard to restore was in jeopardy, and she would not let it slip away. The shadows loomed closer, their forms taking shape as they advanced on the sacred ground. But Lily was ready. She raised her hands toward the sky, calling on the power of the earth, the river, and the forest. Together, they would fight back the darkness. The battle raged on, the forces of light and darkness colliding with fury. But Lily, now fully attuned to the land's power, fought with all her strength. The shadows hissed and recoiled as the light from the humming tree shone brighter, pushing them back. Slowly but surely, the shadows began to dissipate, their forms unraveling under the light. The river surged with power, its waters rising in defense, while the trees stretched their branches, forming an unbreakable barrier. With one final, overwhelming surge of energy, the darkness was banished, vanishing into the night. The land, the river, and the forest were safe once more. The balance had been restored. Lily collapsed to her knees, exhausted but triumphant. The land was at peace, and she had fulfilled her role as its guardian. The humming tree's song filled the air, its melody pure and beautiful. The land had been saved again. The first rays of dawn filtered through the trees, casting long shadows on the forest floor. The battle was over, but the calm that followed was unlike any Lily had ever experienced. There was no sound but the gentle murmur of the river and the soft rustling of the leaves in the wind. For the first time in a long while, Lily felt a sense of peace settle within her heart. The land was safe, the shadows had been driven away, and the balance had been restored. Yet she couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that there was still more to the story. The humming tree stood tall, its branches swaying gently as if it, too, was breathing a sigh of relief. The river was calm again, its waters sparkling in the early light. Lily knew that her journey was far from over. There would always be challenges ahead, but she was ready. Later that morning, as Lily walked through the forest, the wise owl appeared before her, perched on a high branch. Its feathers gleamed in the sunlight, and its eyes shone with the wisdom of ages. The owl had always been a guiding presence, and Lily knew it had something important to share. "You have done well, young guardian," the owl said, its voice echoing softly in the trees. "But remember, peace is never permanent. The balance of nature is delicate, and there are always forces at work, both seen and unseen." Lily nodded, understanding the owl's words. "What should I do now?" she asked, eager to learn what lay ahead. The owl's eyes narrowed, as if seeing through time itself. "You must remain vigilant. There are ancient powers in the world that seek to disrupt the balance. Keep the humming tree close to your heart, for it will guide you when the time comes." As the days passed, Lily tried to live in harmony with the land, but something felt different. There was an unease in the air, a subtle shift that only she could sense. The forest seemed quieter than usual, and the river, while calm, held an unfamiliar stillness. It was as though the land was holding its breath. One evening, as Lily sat by the river's edge, a faint whisper reached her ears. It was distant at first, but it grew louder, like a soft voice carried on the wind. The voice spoke in a language she didn't understand, but its tone was urgent, filled with a sense of danger. Lily's heart raced. She knew this wasn't just a passing disturbance. Something was coming, something dark, and she needed to prepare. The balance was once again in jeopardy, but this time the threat felt different, more ancient, more powerful. The next morning, as Lily walked deeper into the forest, she encountered a figure she hadn't seen in years, the spirit of the forest, a being of light and energy that had once helped her restore the balance. The spirit's presence filled the air with warmth and peace, but Lily could sense a worry in its gaze. "The land is in danger again," Lily, the spirit said, its voice soft yet full of urgency. "A new force has awakened, one that seeks to control the very heart of the river and the forest." This force has been lying dormant for centuries, waiting for the right moment to strike. Lily felt a chill run down her spine. She had thought the worst was over, but this was something new, something more powerful than the shadows they had faced before. "What is it?" Lily asked, fear creeping into her voice. The spirit's light flickered, as if hesitant to speak the words. "It is the ancient darkness, the one that the humming tree was created to protect against. It is returning, and it will stop at nothing to claim the land as its own." Lily knew that she had to act quickly. The humming tree had been her ally before, and she would need its guidance once again. She rushed to the tree, feeling the pull of its energy as she approached. The branches of the tree seemed to hum with life, as if it sensed her arrival. As she placed her hands on the trunk, a warm light enveloped her. The tree's power surged through her, filling her with strength and wisdom. She could feel the ancient energy of the land flowing through her veins, a force older than time itself. The tree's voice echoed in her mind. "You have always known that you are its guardian, Lily. But now you must embrace your true role. The darkness that is coming will not be stopped by power alone. You must awaken the forgotten magic within you, the magic of the river, the forest, and the land itself." Lily felt a surge of energy within her, and for the first time she understood the true depth of her connection to the land. The balance was not just something she protected, it was a part of her, woven into the very fabric of her being. With the humming tree's power flowing through her, Lily knew that the time had come to face the ancient darkness. She could no longer wait and hope that it would go away. She had to confront it, and she had to do it soon. The spirit of the forest appeared once again, its light shining brightly in the shadow of the trees. "You are ready, Lily," it said, its voice filled with both pride and concern. "The darkness will come, but you are not alone. The land will fight with you. The river, the trees, the animals, they will all stand by you in this battle." Lily felt a sense of determination swell within her. She was not just a guardian of the land, she was the land. The river, the forest, and the humming tree were all a part of her, and together they would defeat the darkness once and for all. With a deep breath, she set her eyes on the horizon. The final confrontation was coming, and she would be ready. The skies above the forest grew dark, as if a storm was brewing. The trees whispered in fear, and the river's waters began to swirl, disturbed by an unseen force. Lily could feel the change in the air, a heavy weight pressing down on the land. The ancient darkness was near, and it was coming for everything she had fought to protect. Lily stood before the humming tree, its branches swaying with an eerie hum. The tree's energy pulsed within her, but it was weaker now, as if the approaching darkness was draining it. The land itself seemed to be losing its strength, and Lily knew that she had to act fast. "I must stop it," she whispered to herself, determination setting in her heart. The battle was not just for the land, it was for her very soul. The darkness wanted to consume everything, and she couldn't let that happen. As the darkness closed in, Lily heard a soft, almost imperceptible sound of voice carried on the wind. It was the river calling to her, its voice as ancient as the earth itself. The river, though disturbed, still held great power. Lily could feel it in her bones. It was the final ally she had in this fight. She knelt beside the river, placing her hands in the cool water. The river's energy surged through her, filling her with a deep, calming strength. It spoke to her, its voice like a soft murmur, telling her of an ancient ritual that could banish the darkness forever. "You must find the heart of the river," the river whispered. the source of all life in the land. Only by awakening it can you defeat the darkness and restore the balance. Lily's heart raced. The heart of the river was a legendary artifact, spoken of only in myths. Many had sought it, but none had succeeded. It was hidden deep within the river's most treacherous currents, far from the reach of any mortal. With the river's guidance, Lily set out on her journey to find the heart of the river. She knew the path would not be easy. The river's currents were fierce, and the landscape was wild and untamed. Yet, she had no choice. With the river's guidance, Lily set out on her journey to find the heart of the river. She knew the path would not be easy. The river's currents were fierce, and the landscape was wild and untamed. Yet, she had no choice. She had to find the heart before the darkness could consume everything. As she walked along the riverbank, the forest seemed to close in around her, its trees casting long, menacing shadows. The air was thick with tension, and Lily could sense the dark force growing stronger with each step she took. She hurried forward, determined to reach the heart before it was too late. But the journey was fraught with danger. Strange creatures appeared from the depths of the forest, their eyes glowing in the dim light. They watched her with a hunger in their gaze, as if they were waiting for her to falter. Lily soon found herself standing before a massive stone gate, its surface covered in ancient runes. The gate led to a hidden cave deep beneath the river's surface, where the heart was said to lie. But before she could enter, a shadowy figure stepped from the darkness, blocking her path. The figure was tall and thin, its face obscured by a hooded cloak. Its eyes glowed with a cold, yellow light, and its voice echoed in the cave like a distant, haunting whisper. To pass, you must face the trial of shadows, the figure intoned, its voice like the wind through the trees. Only those who are pure of heart may proceed. Lily felt a shiver run down her spine. The trial of shadows was a test of strength and willpower. It was said that only those who could overcome their darkest fears would succeed. The trial began as soon as Lily stepped forward. The cave seemed to come alive, its walls shifting and twisting, distorting reality. Shadows lurked in every corner, moving like living things. The air grew heavy with the weight of fear, and Lily could feel her heart pounding in her chest. Suddenly, the shadows took form. They became her deepest fears, visions of failure, loss, and the darkness that threatened to consume the world. Lily saw herself alone, helpless, unable to protect the land or the people she loved. The darkness surrounded her, pulling her deeper into despair. But Lily refused to give in. She remembered the lessons the humming tree had taught her, the strength of the river and the power of the forest. She was not alone in this fight. The land itself was with her, and she would not let the darkness win. With a deep breath, Lily stepped forward, confronting the shadows head-on. "I will not fear you," she said firmly, her voice steady and strong. "I am the guardian of this land. You have no power over me." The shadows writhed and shrieked, but they could not touch her. With each step, they faded into the darkness, powerless against her determination. Lily continued forward, and as she reached the end of the cave, a brilliant light filled the space. Before her, floating in a pool of shimmering water, was the heart of the river. It glowed with a golden light, its energy pure and powerful. The heart was the source of all life in the land, the force that kept the balance intact. Lily reached out, her fingers brushing the surface of the heart. The moment she touched it, a surge of energy coursed through her. She could feel the river's power, the forest's strength, and the humming tree's ancient magic all coming together inside her. She had found the key to defeating the darkness. With the heart in her grasp, Lily knew that the final battle was about to begin. With the heart of the river safely in her hands, Lily felt its power coursing through her veins. She knew the moment had come. The darkness was closing in, and it was time to face it head on. The river's currents whispered around her, urging her to return to the humming tree and end this once and for all. Lily made her way back to the ancient tree, her heart pounding in her chest. The land felt different now, as if the very earth was holding its breath. The humming tree hummed louder than ever before, its song growing more urgent with each step. It knew the time for the final battle had arrived. When Lily reached the tree, she held the heart of the river high above her head. The energy from the heart merged with the tree's magic, creating a brilliant light that bathed the land. For a moment, everything was still then. The darkness erupted. The ground shook as the darkness surged forward, an unrelenting force that seemed to devour everything in its path. Shadows twisted and writhed like living creatures, trying to snuff out the light from the heart and the humming tree. But Lily stood firm, her grip tightening around the heart. The light from the heart and the tree combined, creating a barrier of pure energy that pushed back the darkness. For every shadow that reached forward, the light grew stronger, pushing it back. But the darkness was relentless, and Lily could feel its icy tendrils clawing at her mind, trying to weaken her resolve. "You cannot win," a voice hissed from within the shadows. It was the voice of the darkness itself, cold and menacing. Lily's heart raced. But she stood tall. "I will never let you take this land," she cried, her voice full of defiance. "This place is protected by love, light, and nature. You have no power here." As the battle raged on, Lily began to realize something. This wasn't just a battle between light and dark. It was a battle of wills. The darkness sought to consume everything, to take away the very essence of life. But the heart of the river carried something even stronger: the will to protect, and to nurture, and to restore. The heart pulsed with an intense energy, and Lily felt it deep within her soul. She wasn't just fighting for the land or for herself, she was fighting for everything that had ever lived, for the river, the trees, the animals, and the memories of those who had come before her. With a powerful cry, Lily raised the heart higher, channeling all its energy into one final burst of light. The light radiated outward, filling the entire forest, and the darkness recoiled in fear. It wasn't just the magic of the heart that was powerful, it was the love and hope that Lily had poured into it. The darkness writhed in agony as the light consumed it, its form dissolving into nothingness. The shadows screamed as they were torn apart, unable to withstand the power of the heart's light. For the first time in ages, the land felt pure, untouched by evil. The humming tree's song grew louder, triumphant, as the river's waters calmed. Lily watched as the darkness disappeared, leaving only the peaceful stillness of the land behind. She could feel the energy of the heart slowly fading, but it had done its work. The land was safe once again. She collapsed to her knees, exhausted but relieved. The battle had been won, but the cost had been great. The darkness had tried to take everything, but in the end, it had been the light that triumphed. Lily felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that she had protected this land and its future. As Lily rested beneath the humming tree, she felt the warmth of its energy surround her. The tree hummed softly, its song now gentle and comforting. The heart of the river had returned to its place, its power now part of the land, ready to protect it for generations to come. The river's waters sparkled in the moonlight, its currents flowing peacefully once more. The trees around her seemed to sigh in relief, their leaves rustling with the wind. The darkness had been defeated, but the trees' song promised that this peace would last forever, as long as the balance was kept. Lily smiled softly, knowing that her journey had come to an end. She had faced the darkness, and she had emerged victorious. The land was safe, and the forest, the river, and the humming tree would continue to sing their song for years to come. As the first light of dawn broke through the trees, Lily stood up, her heart full of hope. The night was over, and the land had been restored. The humming tree's song echoed in the air, a melody of peace and renewal. The darkness had been vanquished, and the light had returned, stronger than ever. Lily knew that the future was uncertain, but she also knew that the land would always be protected. She had done her part, and now it was time for her to pass on the responsibility. The next generation would carry the torch, continuing the work that had been started long ago. With a final glance at the humming tree, Lily began her journey back to the village, knowing that she had left behind a legacy that would last forever. The land was safe, and so the song of the humming tree would never fade. As Lily walked away from the humming tree, a soft breeze blew through the trees, carrying with it a familiar whisper. The river, now calm and gentle, murmured as if it was speaking directly to her. It thanked her for restoring its flow, for bringing peace to its depths. Lily stopped for a moment, listening to the river's voice. It was soothing, like a lullaby that comforted the land. The water seemed to sparkle in the early light, reflecting the beauty of the world around it. The river had witnessed everything, and now it had found peace, just like Lily. The tree's song echoed in the distance, a reminder of the battle fought and won. Lily smiled softly, knowing that the balance had been restored. The river, the trees, and the land were no longer bound by darkness. They were free. Lily's steps grew lighter as she made her way back to the village. She had faced unimaginable challenges, but now a new journey awaited her. The land was at peace, but the world was vast, and there was still much to discover. As she walked, she thought about the many stories she had heard from the villagers. Legends of other places, of hidden lands and mysterious creatures. Perhaps there was more to this world than she had ever imagined. The river had shown her the power of the heart, and the humming tree had taught her the importance of balance. Now, it was time for her to explore, to learn, and to grow. Her heart felt lighter with each step. The future was no longer a heavy burden. It was a promise of new adventures, of discovering the beauty of the world and protecting it. Back in the village, news of the victory spread quickly. The villagers had feared for their land, for their homes, but now they saw a peaceful world before them. When Lily returned, she was greeted with warm smiles and open arms. They had all been waiting for her to return, to tell them that the darkness was gone. The village square was filled with celebration. The villagers sang songs of joy, danced around the fire, and thanked the river for its gift of life. The peace that Lily had fought for was now theirs to cherish. It was a time for healing, for rebuilding, and for gratitude. Lily joined them, her heart swelling with pride. She had done it not for fame or glory, but for the love of the land and its people. The darkness was gone and the river had been restored. As the village celebrated, a figure appeared from the woods, an old woman, wise and gentle. She had watched the events unfold from afar and had seen Lily's courage. She was a guardian of the forest, and now she had come to offer Lily a gift. The old woman handed Lily a small bundle wrapped in leaves. Inside, there were seeds from the trees that had once whispered their secrets to the wind. These seeds were special, imbued with the magic of the forest, and they would grow into trees that would protect the land for generations to come. These trees will stand tall, the old woman said. They will carry the legacy of the humming tree, of the battle you fought, and of the peace you've brought. Plant them, and the land will always remember. Lily accepted the seeds with a grateful heart. She knew that her journey wasn't over. There was still work to be done. Later that day, Lily walked to the edge of the village, near the forest's edge, where the earth was soft and fertile. She knelt down and planted the first seed. The ground seemed to hum with energy as the seed touched the soil, and in that moment, Lily felt the connection between herself and the land grow stronger. One by one, she planted the remaining seeds, each one growing into a sapling with a promise of strength and protection. These trees would stand as guardians, keeping the balance and protecting the peace that Lily had worked so hard to restore. As the sun set behind the mountains, casting a golden glow over the land, Lily stood back and admired the saplings. They were small now, but in time they would grow tall and strong, just like the humming tree. The legacy of light and balance would live on forever. The days passed, and the village continued to thrive. The river flowed with a gentle current, and the trees whispered their stories to those who would listen. The land, once shrouded in darkness, was now bathed in light, and its people lived in harmony with nature. Lily had found peace, but she knew her journey was far from over. There were still wonders to explore, mysteries to uncover, and lessons to learn. But no matter where her path took her, the land and its river would always be a part of her. As the seasons changed, Lily's heart remained full. The world was vast, and she was ready to face whatever came next, knowing that she carried the light of the humming tree and the river's blessing wherever she went. The song of the humming tree echoed softly, a lullaby to the land that would never fade. Lily woke to the soft light of dawn streaming through her window. The village had settled into a peaceful rhythm, and the land felt alive with the promise of a new beginning. As she looked out over the river, she could hear the faint hum of the humming tree in the distance, a gentle reminder that the balance had been restored. The air was crisp and fresh, carrying the scent of wildflowers and the earth's renewal. Lily felt a sense of calm wash over her as she remembered the battles fought and the sacrifices made. She had helped bring peace to the land, and now it was time for the people to live in harmony with nature once again. She stood and stretched, ready to face the day. There were still many stories to be told and many mysteries to uncover. Lily made her way to the riverbank, her feet light and steady on the path. The river, which had once been clouded with darkness, now sparkled in the morning light. It flowed smoothly, its waters clear and bright. Lily knelt beside it, feeling the cool touch of the water on her fingertips. As she dipped her hand into the river, she could feel a strange warmth radiating from the depths, as if the river itself was alive, thanking her for restoring its life. The river had witnessed so much, and now it carried the stories of those who had fought for its freedom. Lily whispered a quiet thank you, knowing that the river would forever be a part of her journey. She had become one with the land, and the land would always protect her. The days turned into weeks, and the seasons began to change once more. The trees that Lily had planted grew tall and strong, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. The village flourished, with crops growing in abundance and animals thriving. The people worked together, united by the peace that Lily had helped restore. The humming tree, too, stood proud in the distance, its song now a gentle melody that carried across the land. It was a song of balance, of light and dark, and of the connection between all things. The land had found its rhythm once again, and so had the people. Lily often visited the trees, sitting beneath their branches, listening to their whispers. She had become their protector, and they had become her companions on this journey of life. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Lily stood before the humming tree. The light was fading, and the stars began to twinkle in the sky. She closed her eyes, listening to the soft hum of the tree, feeling its energy surround her. In the stillness, Lily made a promise to the land, to the river, and to the humming tree. She would continue to protect the balance, to honor the spirits of the forest, and to keep the peace that had been so hard won. The darkness would never return, and the light would always guide her path. The humming tree's song grew louder, as if it were responding to her vow. It was a promise that would never be broken, a bond between the land and the people who cared for it. As the months passed, Lily felt a strange pull in her heart, a call from beyond the village, from the distant hills and forests. It was as if the land was asking her to go further, to explore beyond the familiar paths she had walked. The world was vast, and there were many mysteries still waiting to be uncovered. Lily stood at the edge of the village, looking out at the horizon. The world beyond was calling to her, and she knew that her journey was far from over. The humming tree and the river had given her strength, but now it was time to follow the whispers of the wind and discover what lay beyond. With a deep breath, she turned away from the village, her heart filled with both excitement and uncertainty. The unknown awaited her, and she was ready to face whatever came next. Lily walked with purpose, her footsteps steady and sure. The road ahead was uncertain, but she knew she wasn't alone. The memories of the humming tree, the river, and the village would guide her as she ventured into the unknown. As she walked, the wind whispered through the trees, and the river sang its song in the distance. The world was full of wonders, and Lily was determined to uncover them all. She was no longer just a protector of the land, she was a seeker of truth, a traveler on a path that would lead her to new discoveries. And as the sun set behind her, casting long shadows across the land, Lily knew that her story was far from over. It was only the beginning. As Lily journeyed further, she entered a dense forest, thick with ancient trees and heavy with mystery. The air was cooler here, and the sounds of the outside world faded into silence. The trees towered above her, their branches entwined like the arms of old friends. It was a place that seemed to hold secrets, whispers carried on the wind. Suddenly, Lily noticed something unusual, small lights flickering in the distance, like tiny stars hidden among the leaves. Intrigued, she followed the lights deeper into the forest. The deeper she went, the more the lights danced around her, guiding her through the shadows. It was as if the forest itself was alive, offering her a path to follow. Lily reached a clearing where the lights gathered, glowing softly beneath a tall, ancient tree. The tree was unlike any she had seen before, its bark dark and twisted, and its roots spread wide across the earth like fingers reaching for the sky. The lights hovered near it, almost as if they were protecting it. She knelt before the tree, feeling a pull in her chest. She could sense its power, ancient and mysterious, radiating from its very core. The lights flickered brighter, and for a moment, Lily thought she saw figures moving in the shadows, watching her. She wasn't alone in this place. With caution, she whispered, "What secrets do you hold?" The wind stirred, and the lights shimmered in response to Lily's words. Then, from deep within the heart of the tree, a voice echoed in her mind. It was soft, but clear, ancient yet full of warmth. "You are a seeker, child," the tree's voice said. "You have come to discover the forgotten parts of this land. But know this: what you seek is not always easy to find. The answers you seek lie beyond the veil of what you know. The shadows you see are not always what they seem." Lily listened carefully, her heart racing. She felt the weight of the tree's words, knowing that the path ahead would be more challenging than she had imagined. But she had come this far. She wasn't about to turn back now. The tree's voice faded, but the lights remained, flickering around her like fireflies. They slowly moved toward a narrow path hidden between the trees, as if inviting her to follow. Lily stood, heart pounding with a mix of excitement and apprehension. She stepped forward, her feet light on the earth, knowing that she was being led to something unknown. The path wound deeper into the forest, the shadows growing darker with each step. Yet, the lights guided her, illuminating the way forward. She could feel the magic in the air, the sense that she was walking through a place that time had forgotten. She didn't know what lay ahead, but the tree's words echoed in her mind, urging her to trust in the journey. As Lily walked deeper into the forest, she felt the presence of something ancient watching over her. The air grew thick with energy, and the trees around her seemed to lean in closer. Suddenly, she saw figures emerge from the shadows, tall, cloaked figures with eyes that gleamed like stars. They moved silently, their steps blending with the rhythm of the forest. These were the guardians of the forest, protectors of the secrets hidden within its depths. They did not speak, but their presence was enough to make Lily pause. She could feel their gaze, sensing both power and wisdom in their eyes. The guardians stepped aside, allowing Lily to continue. Their message was clear: she was meant to pass, but only if she was ready to face the unknown that lay beyond. Lily took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever came next. The guardians watched in silence as she continued down the path, her heart racing. The further she went, the more the forest seemed to change. The trees grew taller and more twisted, their branches reaching out like arms trying to hold her back. The path narrowed, and the air grew thick with mist, making it hard to see ahead. But Lily pressed on, knowing that this was the test she had to face. The tree had told her that the shadows weren't always what they seemed, and she had to find the strength to push through. She remembered the lessons she had learned from the river and the humming tree: balance, courage, and trust. As she stepped forward, the mist parted, revealing a glowing light ahead, and Lily knew she was on the right path. Lily stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the glowing light ahead. The mist that had once clouded the path now swirled around her like a whispering wind, parting as if it too recognized her purpose. The light grew brighter, bathing the forest in a soft, golden glow. It was coming from the heart of a massive stone altar, covered in moss and vines hidden deep within the forest. The light was warm, and as Lily approached, she felt an overwhelming sense of peace. She knelt before the altar, feeling a deep connection to the land beneath her. The air around her seemed to hum, as though it were alive with energy, and she could hear the distant murmur of the humming tree's song, carried by the wind. The light suddenly flickered, and a deep, resonant voice echoed through the clearing. "You have come far, child," the voice said, "but this is where the true test lies. The path you seek is not found in the land alone. It is found within your heart." Lily's heart raced. She had been on many journeys, fought many battles, but this was something different. The voice seemed to reach deep into her soul, calling upon her innermost fears and desires. "What must I do?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. She had come this far, but she knew the hardest part of her journey was about to begin. The altar shifted, and before Lily's eyes, a large, shimmering mirror appeared, its surface rippling like water. The voice spoke again. Gaze into the mirror and face what you fear most. Only then will you truly understand the path you must walk. Lily hesitated. She had faced many dangers, but this felt different. The mirror was not just a reflection of her body, it seemed to reach deeper, showing the very essence of who she was. She took a deep breath and stepped closer. As she looked into the mirror, her reflection shifted. She saw herself, but not as she was now. She saw her past, her struggles, her fears, and the weight of the choices she had made. The mirror showed her every doubt, every fear she had ever felt. It was overwhelming, but it also made her realize something. These fears were a part of her, but they didn't define her. The image in the mirror twisted and distorted, showing her darkest fears, the loss of her loved ones, the shadows from the past that still haunted her, the uncertainty of her future. But as Lily stood there, staring at the mirror, she found strength within herself. She had already overcome so much. She had faced danger, discovered secrets, and restored balance to the land. These fears could no longer control her. I am not defined by my fears, Lily whispered to herself. I am more than the past. I am the one who chooses my path. The mirror shimmered and the dark images began to fade, replaced by a glowing light. The reflection before her changed to the image of a strong, confident woman standing tall and unafraid. The light from the mirror expanded, enveloping Lily in its warmth. With the fears of her past now behind her, Lily stood up feeling lighter than she ever had before. The altar's glow intensified and the path ahead became clear. The trees parted, revealing a new road, one that led toward the heart of the forest where something powerful awaited. The voice spoke once more, this time with approval. You have faced your darkest self, and now the path you seek is before you. Follow it, and you will discover what you are meant to find. Lily felt a sense of calm wash over her. The journey had been difficult, but now she understood that the true test was not in the outside world, it was in her own heart. She was ready to continue her journey, knowing that she had the strength to face whatever came next. Lily walked toward the glowing path, feeling the weight of her journey lift with every step. The forest around her had transformed, the trees now seeming to bow in respect. The guardians, watching from the shadows, nodded silently, acknowledging her courage. As she moved forward, the air shimmered with magic. It was as if the entire forest was alive, watching, waiting, and celebrating her victory over fear. The world felt alive, full of possibilities. Lily knew she had come to the end of one chapter, but she also knew that a new adventure awaited her. The river in the distance hummed in harmony with the wind, and Lily felt the pull of her next great discovery. With her heart open and her mind clear, she stepped forward, ready for whatever lay ahead, knowing she had the strength to face it all. Lily stepped forward, her heart brimming with newfound courage. The path ahead, bathed in soft light, stretched toward the distant river. As she neared, she could hear it, the soft, melodic song of the river. The sound was gentle, like a lullaby. But there was something ancient in the rhythm, something that resonated deep within her soul. The river seemed to be calling to her, guiding her, just as the humming tree had done before. Lily felt an overwhelming sense of belonging here, as if the land had been waiting for her to return. She knelt beside the water, letting the cool breeze wash over her face. The river whispered softly, its song blending with the winds around her. The water sparkled under the pale moonlight, casting ripples that seemed to dance along the surface. As Lily gazed into the water, a shadow appeared beneath the surface. It was not a creature, but something much older, something that had been waiting for her. The shadow slowly rose, taking form as a figure, its face hidden in the depths of the river. "Do you hear the song?" the figure asked, its voice soft yet powerful. "The river sings for those who seek the truth. It sings for those who are ready to listen." Lily nodded, understanding that this was a moment of great importance. The river had a message for her, one that would unlock the next step in her journey. She closed her eyes, listening intently to the song, letting the river's voice fill her mind. The figure in the water began to speak once more, its voice now clear and filled with wisdom. "You have come to the river seeking answers, but remember, this truth is not always what it seems. The river holds many secrets, but it does not always reveal them all at once. You must learn to trust yourself and the wisdom of the world around you." Lily felt a shiver run down her spine. The river's song had grown louder, its notes becoming clearer, like a message meant only for her. She realized that this was a test, not of strength, but of understanding. The answers she sought would not be handed to her, they would come only when she was ready to listen with an open heart. As the figure in the water disappeared, the river's song changed once again. It was no longer soft and mysterious, but strong, like a call to action. Lily knew then that she had to follow the river, let it guide her to the next phase of her journey. The answers she sought were ahead, hidden along the winding course of the water. She stood, taking one last look at the river, and then turned to follow its path. The trees parted to reveal the way, their branches reaching out like silent sentinels, guiding her. Each step felt purposeful, as if the earth itself was moving with her, helping her find the truth. The deeper Lily walked, the darker the waters became. The river, which had once seemed peaceful and inviting, now felt ominous. The song had turned into a low murmur, a sound that seemed to echo with something ancient and forgotten. The water moved faster now, rushing toward a hidden destination. Lily felt her heart race. There was something ahead, something waiting for her in the shadows. The path grew more difficult, the terrain rougher as the river carved its way through jagged rocks. She knew she was getting closer to the heart of the mystery, but she also sensed danger in the air. Something had changed, and the river's song had turned from comforting to unsettling. As Lily continued along the river's edge, the forest around her grew thicker, and the air became colder. The once serene flow of the water had now transformed into a raging current, its depths hidden beneath swirling, dark waves. There, at the end of the path, stood a massive stone bridge, half submerged in the river. The bridge was ancient, its surface worn smooth by centuries of rushing water. Lily knew this was the final crossing, the place where the river's song would either reveal its greatest secret or drown her in its mysteries. She stepped forward, her feet firm and steady on the bridge. With each step, the water beneath her swirled more violently, but she continued, determined to see the journey through. As Lily crossed the bridge, the air around her grew heavy with silence. The river's song had completely ceased, leaving only the faint sound of her footsteps echoing in the stillness. It was as though the entire world had paused, waiting for something to happen. The bridge seemed endless, stretching far beyond what her eyes could see. She felt a chill creep down her spine as shadows began to stretch across the bridge. It was as if the very darkness of the night was alive, watching her every move. Lily took a deep breath and pressed on, knowing she was closer to the heart of the mystery. The feeling of being watched intensified, but she refused to let it deter her. She had come too far to turn back now. The shadows around Lily seemed to twist and bend as if they were alive, whispering her name in voices both familiar and strange. She could hear the voices of those she loved, and the whispers of the forest, urging her forward. Yet there was a darkness here, too, a force that pulled at her heart, making her question whether she was truly ready for what lay ahead. The bridge began to shake, and Lily could feel the vibrations in the air. She held onto the stone railing for support, her heart racing. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, and she could no longer tell if they were real or merely a figment of her imagination. She had to stay strong. She had to trust the path she had chosen. As Lily reached the end of the bridge, she found herself standing before a massive stone archway, its entrance dark and foreboding. Beyond it, she could see nothing, just an endless void. The air was thick with energy, and Lily could feel the pull of the unknown. The stone arch seemed to hum with a quiet power, as though it held the answers she had been seeking all along. A voice, soft yet powerful, spoke from the archway. "You stand at the threshold of truth, but know this: not all truths are kind. Are you prepared to face what lies beyond?" Lily stood tall, her heart steady. "I am ready," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she truly was. But there was no turning back. This was her journey, and she would face whatever lay ahead with courage and determination. With a deep breath, Lily stepped through the archway, and the world around her shifted. The void before her dissolved, revealing a vast, endless abyss. It stretched out in all directions, a sea of darkness with no clear end. The only light came from the glowing stone beneath her feet, casting long shadows across the vast emptiness. Lily felt the weight of the abyss pressing down on her, threatening to swallow her whole. She had no idea where to go or what to do, but she knew she had to keep moving. Every step she took felt like a leap into the unknown, but the light beneath her feet continued to guide her forward, flickering like a distant star. As she walked deeper into the abyss, the air grew colder, and the darkness seemed to close in around her. The only sound was the pounding of her own heart, echoing in the stillness. But as she moved forward, she began to see something in the distance, a faint glow, like a tiny spark in the overwhelming darkness. The glow grew brighter with every step she took, and soon she found herself standing before a massive stone door. The door was covered in ancient symbols, glowing faintly, and the air around it seemed to hum with an otherworldly energy. Lily knew this was the heart of the void, the place where the final secret of her journey would be revealed. With a trembling hand, Lily reached for the door, her heart racing with anticipation. The moment her fingers touched the cold stone, the door slowly creaked open, revealing a chamber bathed in a soft, ethereal light. Inside, the humming tree stood tall, its branches stretching toward the heavens, its leaves shimmering with the glow of ancient wisdom. She had no idea where to go or what to do, but she knew she had to keep moving. Every step she took felt like a leap into the unknown, but the light beneath her feet continued to guide her forward, flickering like a distant star. As she walked deeper into the abyss, the air grew colder, and the darkness seemed to close in around her. The only sound was the pounding of her own heart, echoing in the stillness. But as she moved forward, she began to see something in the distance, a faint glow, like a tiny spark in the overwhelming darkness. The glow grew brighter with every step she took, and soon she found herself standing before a massive stone door. The door was covered in ancient symbols, glowing faintly, and the air around it seemed to hum with an otherworldly energy. Lily knew this was the heart of the void, the place where the final secret of her journey would be revealed. With a trembling hand, Lily reached for the door, her heart racing with anticipation. The moment her fingers touched the cold stone, the door slowly creaked open, revealing a chamber bathed in a soft, ethereal light. Inside, the humming tree stood tall, its branches stretching toward the heavens, its leaves shimmering with the glow of ancient wisdom. The tree's hum filled the air, a song of knowledge and power. As Lily stepped closer, she felt a wave of understanding wash over her. The secrets of the forest, the river, the shadows, all of it was connected, and now she was a part of it. The journey had not been just about finding answers, it had been about becoming one with the land, understanding its song, and accepting her place within it. Lily closed her eyes, letting the hum of the tree fill her soul. She had found her truth. Lily stood still, feeling the hum of the humming tree vibrating through her body. It was as though the tree was alive, not just with energy, but with the very essence of the earth itself. She reached out, her fingers brushing against the smooth bark, and in that instant a flood of memories rushed into her mind, visions of the forest's past, of the river's whispered secrets, and of the many souls who had passed this way before her. The tree's hum became clearer, its song now a melody of wisdom that resonated deep within her heart. She realized that she had always been part of this place, her soul intertwined with the land. The truth was no longer a mystery, it had always been within her, waiting to be unlocked. As the hum of the tree grew louder, a figure appeared before her, an ancient being with eyes that shimmered like the stars. The figure did not speak, but its presence filled the chamber with a sense of calm and understanding. Lily felt no fear. Instead, there was a feeling of reverence, as if she were in the presence of a timeless guardian. The figure motioned to the tree, its ethereal form flowing like mist. "You have come far, child," the figure finally spoke, its voice like the wind rustling through the leaves. "The journey is never truly over. You have unlocked the secrets of the river and the forest, but now you must learn to carry this knowledge with you." Lily nodded, feeling the weight of the responsibility. The path ahead would not be easy, but she was ready to embrace it. The guardian stepped aside, revealing a small wooden box lying beneath the roots of the humming tree. It was simple, carved with intricate patterns, and it seemed to pulse with energy. "This is the key to the knowledge you seek," the guardian said, "but you must choose carefully. Not all who come here are ready for what lies inside." Lily hesitated for a moment. She had come seeking answers, but this box, this final step, felt like a decision that would shape the course of her life. Her heart raced as she reached for the box, feeling its energy surge as her fingers brushed the wood. The decision was hers alone, and the path she chose now would determine her future. With trembling hands, Lily opened the box. Inside, there was nothing but a single, glowing leaf, its edges shimmering with an ethereal light. As soon as she touched it, the world around her seemed to shift. The ground beneath her feet began to ripple, and the sky above twisted with flashes of light. She could feel the connection between all living things, the river, the trees, the animals, and even the whispers of the past. The leaf held the knowledge of the world, a gift from the land itself. Lily understood now that the tree's hum was not just a song, it was a call to protect the balance of nature, to be its guardian. She felt a surge of power within her, not to control, but to preserve and protect. The responsibility was immense, but Lily knew she was ready. As the world around her settled, the guardian's figure began to fade, its presence lingering in the air like a gentle breeze. "You have chosen wisely," the guardian's voice echoed softly. "Now go forth with the knowledge you have gained. The world will need you." Lily took one last look at the humming tree, its branches swaying gently in the wind, its song now a quiet whisper. She knew her journey was far from over. The path ahead was uncertain, but the lessons of the river, the tree, and the forest would guide her. She stepped away from the tree, feeling the weight of her new role as a protector of the land. Lily walked away from the humming tree, her heart full of purpose. The river, now calm and peaceful, flowed beside her, its song a soft reminder of the journey she had taken. The forest, too, seemed alive with quiet energy, as if it, too, had accepted her as part of its eternal rhythm. With each step, Lily felt the weight of her new life settle around her. She was no longer just a visitor to this place, she was now a part of it, a guardian of its secrets. The future was unknown, but she was no longer afraid. The knowledge she had gained from the humming tree would stay with her, guiding her through whatever challenges lay ahead. As she continued on her journey, Lily knew that the true power of the land did not lie in its secrets or its mysteries, but in the heart of those who listened, learned, and cared for it. She had found her place, and her story was only just beginning. As Lily continued walking along the riverbank, she noticed the wind picking up. It wasn't just any wind, it felt alive, as if the forest itself was calling to her. The breeze carried whispers, like distant voices urging her forward. She paused for a moment, listening intently. The whispers seemed to guide her, pulling her deeper into the woods. The trees swayed gently in response, their branches reaching out as though welcoming her. It was as though the forest had been waiting for her to return. Lily felt a sense of peace settle in her heart. She wasn't just a visitor anymore, she was part of this world, a part of its song. As she ventured further into the forest, Lily reached a part of the river she hadn't seen before. The water here was still, reflecting the dark sky above like a perfect mirror. She knelt down to get a closer look and was surprised to see not only her reflection, but the faces of those who had passed through the forest before her. Their eyes looked back at her, offering silent messages, warnings, advice, or maybe even encouragement. For a moment she could hear their voices, faint but clear. "You are not alone," one voice whispered. "The forest is always with you." Lily felt a surge of warmth in her chest, as if the river itself had acknowledged her presence. The connection between her and the land had deepened, and she understood now that she had been chosen to be its protector, not just for a time, but forever. The stillness of the river gave way to the soft sounds of nature, and Lily stood up, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. The path ahead was unclear, but she knew she had to keep moving forward. With each step, the forest seemed to shift, revealing new paths and hidden places she had never noticed before. It was as if the land itself was alive, changing and evolving, just like her. The wind carried with it the faint scent of flowers, their sweet fragrance filling the air. Lily breathed in deeply, feeling the weight of her journey but also a sense of hope. The tree, the river, the forest, they were all part of her now, and she was part of them. The bond was unbreakable, and it would guide her in the days to come. As she walked, a shadow seemed to fall over the path. The trees around her began to thicken, their branches twisting into strange shapes, blocking out the sunlight. Lily hesitated. Something was different here, and she could feel the shift in the atmosphere. It wasn't the gentle hum of the humming tree, nor the peaceful song of the river. This was something darker, a challenge she had to face. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from the shadows. Lily froze, her heart racing. She wasn't alone. Something or someone was watching her from the darkness. The growl grew louder, and the forest seemed to hold its breath. Lily gripped the stone pendant around her neck, a symbol of her bond with the land. She knew she had to face whatever lay ahead, but fear began to creep into her thoughts. From the shadows emerged a creature, its eyes glowing like fireflies in the night. It was large, its body covered in dark fur, and its presence felt ancient, as though it had been watching the forest for centuries. The creature stared at Lily, its gaze piercing and intense. But instead of attacking, it simply stood there, as if waiting for her to make a move. Lily took a deep breath and stepped forward, her heart steady. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice calm despite the tension in the air. The creature's eyes softened, and it tilted its head as though considering her question. Then, in a voice that was both deep and gentle, it spoke. "I am the guardian of this part of the forest. You seek to protect this land, but first you must prove your strength." The creature's words echoed in Lily's mind. She had to prove her strength, not just physical strength, but the strength of her heart and will. The forest had tested her before, but this was different. This was a trial she couldn't ignore. She could feel the weight of the challenge pressing on her, but she also felt a surge of determination. She had been chosen for this path, and she would not back down. The creature stepped aside, revealing a path that led deeper into the forest. "Follow this path," it said. "Only by facing the trials within will you be able to prove your worth." The path was dark and unknown, but Lily knew that she had no choice. With a steady breath, she took the first step into the unknown. Lily's footsteps echoed in the silence as she walked down the darkened path. The air grew colder, and the trees seemed to close in around her. Each step felt heavier than the last, but she pushed on, knowing that the trial she faced was not just about her strength, but her resolve. The whispers of the wind had disappeared, leaving only the sound of her breathing and the rustling of the leaves beneath her feet. As she moved deeper, the shadows seemed to come alive, shifting and twisting into strange shapes. Every now and then, Lily could catch glimpses of eyes watching her from the darkness, but when she turned to look, they vanished. It was as if the forest itself was testing her courage, challenging her to face her deepest fears. Suddenly, the path ahead seemed to blur. The shadows grew thicker, and a strange mist began to rise from the ground, swirling around her feet. Lily's heart raced as the temperature dropped, and she could feel the presence of something dark, something malevolent, closing in. She tried to steady her breathing, but the fear threatened to overwhelm her. She knew that this was a test of her willpower. A low voice echoed in the mist. "Turn back. You are not meant for this journey. The forest will claim you." The voice was soft, almost soothing, but there was a coldness in it that sent chills down her spine. Lily paused, her body trembling with uncertainty. Was this the moment where she failed? Was this the end of her journey? Lily closed her eyes, taking a deep breath to steady her nerves. The voice was nothing but an illusion, a trick of the shadows. She had faced fear before, and she would face it again. She opened her eyes and stepped forward, her heart filled with determination. I will not turn back, she whispered to herself. I am stronger than this. The mist began to recede, and the shadows seemed to withdraw. The path ahead cleared, revealing a glowing light in the distance. Lily didn't know what lay ahead, but she knew that the only way out was forward. With newfound strength, she walked toward the light, leaving the fear and darkness behind her. As Lily approached the light, the forest seemed to come alive once again. The trees began to sway gently, and the birds started singing their sweet melodies. The mist had disappeared, and the path ahead was bathed in a warm, golden glow. The light was not blinding, but soft and comforting, like the first rays of the morning sun. Lily felt a surge of peace fill her heart. She had made it through the darkness, through the fear. The trials were not over, but this was a sign that she was on the right path. The forest had tested her, but it had also shown her strength she never knew she had. She was no longer just a visitor in this world, she was its protector, its guide. And so, Lily's journey continues, for the forest is never truly finished with its protectors. The challenges will come, but with each step, she grows stronger, more connected to the land she's sworn to protect. The river will always hum, the trees will always whisper, and the forest will remain, its secrets waiting for those brave enough to uncover them. As the moonlight dances on the waters, Lily walks forward, knowing that no matter what darkness may come, the light of her courage will always guide her. The river, the trees, the forest, they are all part of her, and she is part of them, forever bound by the song of the humming tree. Thank you for joining Lily on her adventure. May you find the strength to face your own trials, knowing that even in the darkest of times, the light of hope is never far away.